Good afternoon. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Andrea Lelavergne. I am the Women in Big Data leader for France. And I want to start this presentation by saying thank you. Thank you for the organizers. But thank you to you for being here, and thank you especially to Tina Rosario to have accepted to come to talk today about her insights about career transition and to give to us some authentic success keys. So Women in Big Data is an organization that has been launched in 2015 in the United States, but that today has presence in all the different continents in the world. And our mission is to foster women and men careers. I mean, we are also focused on diversity. And how do we do that? We do that through sharing knowledge and to helping, yes, with the development, yes, of workshops, for example, mentoring programs, etc. I am going to talk about that a little bit later. We are, as I said, today in dispatch in 50 different chapters all around the world, and we count with more than 2,000 members. And we are sponsored by different enterprises, big enterprises that are committed with women career and diversity development of women and men careers all around the world. So you are having there some of our sponsors. Sanofi, for example, in France, Databricks, at the global level, Netflix, and Quantum Square, for example, in France too. What do we do, in fact? Our job is to get together, to make people get together and to help, yes, to all the girls, but all the diverse, yes, members of data to develop their different career. So we do free and absolutely free local meetings, workshops. We have a global mentorship program that is launched twice a year, a speed mentoring program especially for France that takes place once a year, but that is not only developed in France, it is always also developed for other chapters. We are going to talk about that. We participate in global conference like today, and we have from 2021 launched a certification program with DataCamp, in which all our members can participate and obtain certificates absolutely freely. Our coming events, we are here today, but we are going to be present with another talk in the Big Data and Artificial Intelligence Paris exhibition in October 16th, so you're welcome to come. In October 24th, as I have announced, Women in Big Data Berlin is organizing a speed mentoring. It is going to take place online in English, and it's a LinkedIn event. You can have more information through their LinkedIn page. In November, we are going to be also in region in Quimper, and we are going to organize lots of different afterworks. So we call all people, yes, who want to integrate our organization to join. So right now, as I have announced, I am going to leave the floor to Tina Rosario, who is the Data Chief Officer of SAP and is also leader of Women in Big Data for Europe. She has an expertise in data governance and security and compliance and in digital transformations. And she is very interested especially in what has to do with diversity in data careers in the world. Tina? So the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I don't know if we need this. I don't even know if it's working. It's working? Do I need it or no? Yeah? Okay, I'll keep it. So thank you, Andrea, for the introduction, and thank you for being here with us today. Can you tell that I'm American? Some people often will tell me this, you kind of have that American way about you. Yeah, I'm an American. I've been living in Paris for 9 years now. I'll tell you the story that my husband and I both worked for global companies, and we were having dinner one night, drinking some wine in the US where we were living and working, and we said, gosh, wouldn't it be fun to move somewhere else? We're young, we just had a baby, let's think about it. And voila, years later, we ended up in Paris. It was supposed to just be for 2 years, and it's been 9 years now. So we certainly love being here, love being in Europe in particular, and have really seen our daughter. Those of you who have children perhaps understand that she is now fully French. She's a little French girl, and she speaks French and Spanish and Italian and German and English at home. So I don't think we would have had that same experience if we had stayed in America. And I also think we left America at just the right time before things started to, frankly, go down. So I'm so happy to have been asked when I moved to France to run Women in Big Data for Europe. We were only 2 chapters, I think, at the time, and now we have a presence, as Andrea said, all over Europe. We have over 40,000 members globally, and we have the support of a bunch of big companies like SAP. And SAP has also thankfully allowed me and encouraged me to continue to participate in changing the way companies like SAP look at diversity and inclusion. How many of you who are out there in the world of work today, how many of your companies have diversity and inclusion programs, or at least say they do, or maybe, say they do, maybe have it as a part of their strategic goal? But I find that it's very often the case that it's a lot of words on a PowerPoint slide, but very few really active programs, and very few opportunities for women and men to explore and to understand the value of inclusivity and to develop young people and others around them into building more of a diverse community. I think we can all say we would love to see more women in the field of data and analytics and AI, but in reality, it starts when they're very small in the classroom. There's a statistic that we use for women in big data that says that, and I'm trying to think of the equivalent here in France, I guess maybe by 16e, maybe by the time they get to middle school, young girls who may have really liked math and science all of a sudden tend to fall off and don't consider that there are good career options for them to pursue at that young age, and they are not offered the kinds of stages and opportunities that the boys might have, and that really needs to change. And so that's part of our mission at Women in Big Data is to educate and promote and to build programs. We have a chapter, for example, in Russia, of all places, where they have a relationship with the local school community, and they help teachers to understand the different signals that they may be saying to young girls that push them away from opportunities in the maths and science and chemistry and physics and all of that. So there's quite a lot of work to be done. By way of my background, so in addition to being a strong supporter of diversity and inclusion, I also, I think, perhaps have a very interesting way in which I ended up as SAP's Chief Data Officer, because it wasn't a very traditional route. So I do not have a coding background. I do not come from technology. In fact, it's a funny story. My daughter, who this little French girl, says to me, "Mommy, you work for a tech company. Put up the applications, set up your iPhone correctly." She always teases me and makes fun of me because she doesn't understand that, yes, I work for SAP, which is a very large enterprise-wide software company. It's not Apple, or it's not, right, a company that develops applications or videos or social media that she might find interesting at her age. So for me, that the interest in solutions and tools came a little bit later in life. So I started off in education, anthropology, sociology, and started my career at McKinsey after my graduate program in change management and training and education. And when I went to, I went to some conference back then, and somebody said, "Well, you know, we really can use your skills, people like you who understand strategy and program management and change management, to go work for companies like SAP and big tech companies to help them to build those skills." And so I was brought into SAP in Y2K, so this is how old I am actually in saying that, but Y2K was a big deal back in 2000, and SAP wasn't quite sure how to communicate what might happen with Y2K by changing of the year from 99 to 2000. And so they brought in some consultants like myself to help them understand how do you make the changes happen and how do you communicate that to your customer base. And when I got there and was doing this consulting work, I realized that SAP was a really big company, but they really didn't understand their customers, and they really didn't know how to communicate to their customers because they were very deeply involved in developing their tools, which was perfect. It was just more of the evolution and the growth of a company like an SAP. And then I was doing that work for quite a long time, and then my daughter was born, and we were always saying that, you know, we measure time against significant events in our lives. So in 2009, my daughter was born. At that time, SAP also completed its first acquisition of a company. And you can imagine all the changes that came forth with that acquisition. It was Business Objects that we bought in 2009. And when we incorporated the Business Objects processes and customer lists and solution sets into SAP, we did a horrible job. We didn't know what to do. There was no real plan. There was no resources assigned. And what happened as a result is that we lost sight of all of the reasons why we acquired Business Objects to begin with. All the customers were gone. We didn't have a distinction between whether or not somebody was a prospect for Business Objects or a prospect for SAP. How did the solutions come together? How do we combine the orders and the invoices? You can imagine. And so at the time, our executive board said, data is a real problem for us, and we need to focus on data because we are missing so many opportunities because we can't get ourselves set up correctly. And so as a result of that, they created a strategic program to look at data, and I was asked to come into that program to offer some strategy expertise. And after a couple of years, they said, wow, this is a great business case. We need to invest, and we want you, Tina, to run this for us. And I said, well, I need a team. I need to have an approach. I need sponsorship. I need all the things that it would take to be successful. And after a few years of continuing to build out a set of capabilities, we ended up with a data office, a whole program, business sponsors, the whole setup. And so that's where I am today. I do spend about 35% of my time directly talking to customers and helping them to develop their own programs and sharing what we learned from SAP. And I'm sharing all this with you because this is a different way of getting into a career in data and analytics. I didn't start off, as I said, coming in as a data engineer or a data scientist. We didn't have Python. We didn't have the kinds of tools or capabilities back then. And I really believe at different points in your career that you can make transitions into different specialties of work. And that's what we wanted to talk about today, was to help. 5 minutes left? Oh my gosh. Think about, I just kind of spelled out different things that you can do at different points in your life that I would share as guidance and advice to building up into a career like a CDO, if that's your expectation or your goal or your dream, or to be a chief analytics officer or to be a chief AI officer. That when you start off, there is not one specific degree option. I'm living proof of that. But in the early stages, you can start to develop problem-solving skills, communication skills, analytic skills, critical thinking skills, team building skills. You can do all of that in the early stages of your education and in your early career. When you start to get to think about your first few jobs, and I say that, I'm rare, having been in one company for a long time. I think it's very common for people to springboard every 3 or 4 years. That's perfectly acceptable. But to think about the kinds of roles, if you were to consider, well, I want to go into data and analytics, what roles do I look for? One of the best and easiest kind of entry-level positions is a business analyst or a data analyst. Starting there, starting doing project work, starting with an internship, right? Starting to understand how do companies maximize the value of data and analytics. Many, many, many companies have huge gaps in this area and are looking for people with passion around data and AI. And that happens, I think, early in a career when you're quite keen and quite interested in learning more. You don't have to have a specific industry in mind. Every industry needs data and analytics and AI professionals. It just means that you've got a real interest and you can develop that into a position. I think also a critical success factor early in your career is to start to develop mentors and sponsors. Mentors who can give you guidance and help you to build a path, a career path, help you to define exactly what it is you need to do to get to your end goal. And then a sponsor, which is really different than a mentor, a sponsor who is actually willing to stand up for you, who's actually willing to present you as a viable candidate, who's willing to be a reference, who's willing to endorse you, and who's willing to put their own political capital, put their own interests aside and do work for you as a sponsor. That is a critical person to have in your sphere in the early stages of your career. And how do you get those? Frankly, you just have to ask. I know it's not easy for people to sometimes think about that, but early in your career, that should be a question. If you meet somebody, a manager or a coworker or a colleague that you meet or somebody that you meet at a conference, you can stay connected and ask them to help you in your career and help you to develop and reach your goals. People want to help, really. They want to. Look at Women in Big Data. We have lots of people who are interested in being mentors. Sponsors are a little bit more difficult to get because you have to show that you're worthy and valuable, but I find that a lot of people who work on projects, if you work on a project and there's a project manager or a senior person who's responsible for that project, they're a great person to ask to be a sponsor. And then as you continue up your career path, I'd called it this mid-career, my guidance is to really, you've kind of had some experience early on, pick one or two areas that you want to go deep in and become an expert in that. Whether it's data science, whether it's analytics, whether it's AI, go deep, become known as an expert, write articles, participate, even think about maybe even writing a book. Today it's really very easy to get published. Go deep, become known, promote yourself on LinkedIn, promote yourself in the communities. And then at the end of your career, right, if you will, at the point where you've reached that goal, then you have a responsibility to share your knowledge with other people. This is a time for you to give back. That's kind of like where I am in my career. It's definitely about giving back. Throughout that journey, throughout that transition, my one big takeaway is always be yourself. Be true to yourself. Be who you are. Be authentic. Be genuine. If you're passionate about something, if you're passionate about data, or you're passionate about learning like I am, or you're passionate about communicating, put it out there, right? Let it be known. People will respect and will respond if it's genuine, if you're showing your genuine self, and if you're able to be true to yourself. That, I think, comes across very well. I'll just close by saying to you, get involved. So here are ways in which, try and do one more click, see if it comes up, no? To get involved in our community. So this QR code is to become a member of Women in Big Data. It's completely free. You can sign up for mentoring programs. You can sign up for training programs. You can join our events. You can also connect with Women in Big Data in France. They're on LinkedIn. You can find it there. Or you can connect with me if you want to ask a question, or you're interested in something about my experience, or if there's a way in which I can help you. As I said, I really want to give back and spend time sharing with the bigger community. So feel free to follow me, connect with me, send me a private message if you want to ask something, because we don't have time today. But I'm here for you. I would love to support you and help you in any way. And then Women in Big Data in France has, as Andrea mentioned, some events coming up. It's a good way for you to build your network, find your mentors, find your sponsors, build your community, talk to other people who have, the experience that you're interested in learning from. Get involved in the community. That's what we're here for. And I think that's how we're going to bring more diversity and inclusion, is if we learn from you and hear from you and get you involved in the kinds of programming that we offer. So thank you. Sorry I ran over. I'm sorry. Thanks. Thanks so much for coming. Thanks.